Hey, greetings and salutations. Recently, somebody commented, I'm going to paraphrase. They commented that they wished I would have showed them how I built my cabinets because they're about at that point in their build. So I gave it some thought and thought, okay, I'll show you how I built my cabinets. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not going to show you how to build cabinets because I'm not a cabinet maker. But I'm going to show you how I built my cabinets and the reasons why I used the materials that I did. So one thing you might want to consider is, do you even want to build your own cabinets? Depends on how many cabinets you want to build. If you don't have the skill set to build cabinets, then you might want to think about buying like commercially available kitchen cabinets and then modifying those to fit your bus. I thought about doing that. In fact, I went to Home Depot and because that's really the only choice I have here locally. And I looked at some builder grade cabinets similar to these, and that's just the unfinished cabinets that you'd find at any big box store, the real cheap stuff. And then I got to looking at how they're constructed and what they're charging for those pieces, and I just said, no, I'm going to build my own. If you looked at the way these cabinets are constructed, this will give you a pretty good idea of how to build your own cabinets. And using better materials, you can build the same size cabinet for about the same money, if not less. And then you can build that cabinet to your specifications. So really your skill set is going to determine how well your cabinets are going to come together. Having said that, you need a method to be able to cut lumber square and clean. So you need a good saw blade and either a panel saw or a table saw or some kind of saw guide for a circular saw to be able to cut and make your pieces square. Because it doesn't matter how good you are at joinery, if you don't have a square cut, it's all going to be garbage, right? So go look at the way your cabinets are constructed and then build your cabinets similar to that. I want to show you how these were constructed and why I decided not to use these types of cabinets because of the materials that were used. Now remember that a kitchen cabinet in a house is a little bit different than a cabinet, in my opinion, in a RV or a bus, in that the cabinets that you put in your house, they get screwed to the wall and it's a static thing. They're not going to go anywhere. You don't have your house unless you get hit with an earthquake. Your house isn't moving to and fro and bouncing up and down, going down the highway 70 miles an hour, but your RV is. So you need to consider those forces of the bus actually moving down the road and then the additional forces of whatever is being stored in those cabinets and cupboards, and that you want to be able to secure those items not only in the cabinets and the cupboards. You want to have the cabinet secure on the bus so it doesn't come off the wall, The cabinets that I built, I modeled them after the cabinets. Like I said, I'm not a cabinet maker, but I modeled them after this with some caveats. I made some subtle changes. I used different dimensions of wood and used plywood products instead of particle board products. If you look underneath the cabinet here, you can see the original finish of the cabinet, and you can see that this piece here, the face frames, the door frames, those are all wood, actual wood. It's oak. The bottoms, the backs, the sides, this is all engineered lumber. So I'm not even sure this is real wood if it's not just a picture of wood, like a vinyl facing. I don't know, the tops too. You see the oak strip there in the bottom to cover up the particle board edge. You see right here they got this little oak strip that covers up that particle board edge, and it's particle board. My cabinets, I use plywood. The way I built my cabinets, I start by building the face frame. So let's start there. So when you're building your face frames, you got to have a way to join those rails and stiles together, the vertical and the horizontal members. You can do that with several different methods. You can do that with traditional old school joinery where you make dados and rabbets and physically put the two pieces of wood together and then peg them together or glue them. You could make sure that your cuts are clean and square and just clamp them and glue them together. That's one method. That does work, but it's if the glue fails, then the piece is just going to fall out. And there's other mechanical ways of fastening those rails and stiles together. The old school method, the way I learned back in high school, is to use a drill bit, a locating dowel for the hole that you drill in the wood, which will transfer the mark onto the piece of wood that you're joining, where you can drill that hole out, insert a dowel, a wooden dowel, into both pieces and glue those together and fasten them together that way. Basically like this. Vertical, horizontal. I want to put a dowel in here to connect these two so that I have wood joining wood to wood. It's a lot of wood. So you'd find the center of that. I'm just going to eyeball it. Once the hole's drilled, I'll insert this little transfer thing, this little transfer dowel jig thing, and that little point will transfer to there, and that's where I would drill my hole. Then you remove this. Now, do I have a dowel? I do not have a dowel, but I have an earplug, which will have to suffice. So you'd put in a dowel, you'd glue this joint up, you'd put a little glue in that hole, and then you can just glue that up, clamp it, and you have a dowel that's providing a mechanical advantage to just a glue up joint. But that's pretty antiquated. Not too many people use dowel joints anymore. The problem with these is that they get lost. It's a miracle that I still have this when I've had it for about 20 years. And it's in my toolbox junk drawer. I can't believe I still have it. And the drill bit. After a little while, I came up with biscuit joiners. Let me show you one of those. This particular one is a DeWalt brand. So this tool allows you to cut a biscuit joint. You'd put your board in here, right? Make a mark on both pieces that you wanted to join. You wouldn't use a Sharpie, you'd use a pencil. So that's where you want your joint to be. And you would use your center line here, and you'd pull the trigger on this little biscuit joiner, and you'd push this table into the wood. That exposes the blade, and it cuts like a half moon groove in the board there. And you take this one, line it up there, and you do the same. Then you take one of these. This is a biscuit. These are typically made out of dogwood, and they tend to swell when they get wet. So you glue this up, you put it in the biscuit joint. The glue will cause the wood to swell up a little bit. You put those two pieces together, clamp them, and wait a day or whatever, and that joint is going to be a pretty strong joint. So that's what that biscuit joiner machine does, is it makes slots that match up. You take this biscuit and you throw it in there. Of course, you'd glue it up. You'd line up your lines, and you'd clamp it, and that makes a pretty strong joint. Now, that biscuit joiner is going to run you a couple $100. That's not a small investment. Dowel method is a very small investment. I think you can get those little transfer punches. You can get 2 of those in a drill bit for, I don't know, for $10 or less. And then recently I started using another method of joining, and that's with pocket screws. All right, so this would be the inside of the cabinet. The outside being here. This side is the part you're going to be looking at. This side is hidden from view. And you see that there's 2 screws in them pocket holes, right? So there's a jig that allows you to cut these these pocket holes, they go in at an angle, like so. And you go in to a certain depth, and then you drive these screws in. Well, let me just show you briefly how this jig works. So I want to take this piece of wood and I want to attach it to this piece of wood. So I got a pocket jig here, and it has a guide for that drill bit, and I set my depth with this. I center this up with the board and just run this drill bit. All right, that creates the pockets that the screw goes into. I get a couple of pocket screws. And screw them together. Of course, you'd want to glue that as well. And then I also use a piece of wood to bridge these two and clamp them down on a flat surface so that they're completely lined up. I learned that. Obviously saw that other one where it moved on me. But that's a strong joint even without glue. That's the method that I'm using now instead of all this other nonsense. Once you have the face frame built, then you can build the cabinet. Now, on base cabinets, depending on the walls, if your walls are straight, then you can just build the cabinet, right? Like these ones. I gave myself a 4-inch toe kick, so this is recessed down here. I haven't put the toe kick board in yet, but you can see it. I give myself a 4-inch recess, 4 inches back and 4 inches of height. And that'll keep you from stubbing your toes into your cabinets when you're working in the kitchen. So you can pretty much build these and set them anywhere you want, but there's where you need to be creative. So having some pretty thick cardboard to make templates is a big plus. And test fit your template, and then cut your wood a little bit oversized, and then whittle your way down to where it fits. And here's something that I did extra. I added some 1x material as a nailer, just to give myself some more surface area for glue. So all these joints have a piece of 1x in there, just for more security. So ultimately, the decision that you make, if you're going to build your own cabinets or buy cabinets, that's really an individual decision. And the materials that you use, sometimes the materials are going to depend on where you live geographically. Me, I live in a little dirt town in the middle of the desert, and my only option is Home Depot. So, I'm kind of limited as to what I can get. And lumber's pretty expensive out here. Take that into consideration. But don't let anybody tell you what you're doing is wrong. Build within your skill set. If that means you're building a frame out of 2x2s and nailing plywood to that, if that works for you, then that works for you. That being said, I tend to overbuild things, and I use a lot of fasteners and glue, and I just don't want this stuff falling apart on the road. So if it was informative, I'd appreciate it if you hammered away at that like button. If you thought it sucked and it was a complete waste of your time, then do the opposite. Either way is okay with me. If you're so inclined, please consider clicking that little red button underneath this window that says subscribe. Click on that. It'll turn, I think, gray or something other than red. And then right next to it's a picture of a bell. Click on that bell icon and you'll be notified of future uploads. Because who doesn't want to miss out on all this tomfoolery, right? Share this video with your vast social media network if it suits you. If it doesn't, don't. And as always, guys and gals, you have fun, stay safe, shoot straight, keep your powder dry, have a splendid day. Bye. Let me get this glue off my finger.